recreational facilities. Examples include increased park and recreational field maintenance and beautification, increased access to riverfront and nature areas, and increased wilderness and habitat restoration through cooperation with governmental and other organizations. You should know that these are already significantly underway. There has been extensive interaction between our Parks and Recreation Department and our Public Works Department in preparation for this coming spring and summer, which will actually eventually get here. So I'm quite confident that those efforts are well in hand. And the other two here really, in some ways, fall more directly under the CMAP priorities that are already being looked at fairly extensively. And Trustee Sussman is really kind of running the group organization of the various commissions and organizations along with Chicago Wilderness that are looking at those items. So are there any other things with regard to, please?
Can I just say something briefly
about
that? There is a group of representatives from the commissions that's meeting regularly along with staff to look at CMAT, and we're in the process of doing our own prioritization, recognizing that it's a function of how much staff time we have as well as what the costs are going to be. So I think that pretty soon I'll be able to talk about what those priorities are and to actually show project plans that are being put together, not just with the commission members, but with staff as well. And we do have some priorities that we're working on. I can talk about, or I can just come back and do the whole thing at once. But CMAP's clearly a priority, I think, for
and that group
the commissions and
the group that
staff.
you're facilitating is really making great strides on that, and that includes our Parks and Recreation Department, our Public Works Department are all part of it. So I think by early spring, if you want to come back and maybe bring the other chairs
Absolutely.
with you, that would be great. So, yes, sir, please.
I applaud Gene for jumping on that and being part of it. I think this is the part of the agenda that excites me the most. We spend a big part of our time talking about sidewalk squares, police trucks, salt, all the things that really aren't fun. To Richard's point, growing up in this village used to be more fun. It used to be way more prettier than it is now. And we had a lot more activity from the residents utilizing our parks and our riverfront. When you could see it, you can't. And part of the CMAT thing is harkens to the importance of the river and why we're here, and the whole basis of Mr. Olmsted coming to this area was the river. Right now you can't see it, you can't use it, there's very little access to it unless you just walk down and jump in it yourself. The CMAP talks of river paths, it talks of canoe launches, and access to the waterway. This is a waterway that is all of ours, and we should be able to use it. And I think it's part of what gives Riverside its overall character. We would be nothing without the river. It's what drew us here, and it's why we all kind of live here. I would love to see the implementation of a path system along the river. I know Richard's not going to approve of this, but I would like to see us be able to see the river more. The project that went on this summer, or early fall, behind the library and the village hall was probably very stark and shocking to most people because of the level of clearing that we did back there. But one has to understand that that's how it used to be. And we as a village have neglected our riverfront, and in part because we don't have the money to spend on it. And we've spent our money on buying fire trucks, police cars, lockers, cameras. We talk of all these things that, in my mind, are necessary to function in today's world. But the whole reason that we pay the taxes that we live in this town is to have fun. And I want to see us start talking about using our parks, using the river, getting back down to the river, and utilizing that area. I mean, it's our largest single asset, besides all the historical buildings that we have in this town and our historical status. So I, for one, would like to be part of any talk or discussion or groups that President Sells, you spoke a while back of gathering the commissions and taking a walk and seeing what the feasibility. I say let's once the snow clears, let's put our boots on and take a walk. The river is a beautiful thing, and it flows past us every day, and we don't pay attention to it. We can't see it. We can't use it. We can't touch it. So I'd like to see more of that. It may sound mundane to some people, but perhaps if we were a destination for canoeing, for kayaking, that would spur business development. Perhaps if we were a destination or you had a place to walk with your kids or ride your bike along the river. We're not the only town in this country that is situated on a body of water. But if you look at every major municipality that is, look at Chicago. They have miles and miles and miles and miles of paths. And they kept their whole front yard open to the lake. People boat on it, bike on it, walk on it, run on it. I want to be able to provide the residents the same ability to utilize the riverfront in that aspect. And that's all I have to say about it.
Mr. Powell?
I'd like to say very well said, Trustee Foley, and I agree completely. One of the unique things about Riverside is that if you go to any modern village, suburb, town, homes back up to the rivers or the lakes because the developers make money off of those lots. Riverside, our river, is exposed to the whole community, and we absolutely need to take better advantage of that. So thank you for saying that.
And to your point, Mr. Pollock, Trustee Pollock, the exposing of the riverfront behind here exposed an eyesore, and that's our youth center. And yet, one of the memorandums that I saw this week, we talked about putting a $300,000 roof on that building. And I really think that's a total waste of money. We've exposed a building that's well past its age. It's needed a lot of repair. But that single building is sitting on probably one of the biggest, most valuable pieces of dirt in this town. And if we could find another use for that site or the building or both, then we would benefit from that. It's where the hotel used to be. The foundation of that building sits on the foundation of the old hotel. Well, the old foundation behind the garage here. Right. The refectory. Right. But the point is that the people that were here before us utilized it. We don't. We've ignored it. We've completely ignored it. If there's anybody that says that we've put a penny into looking at the river or cleaning it up, I don't believe that.
Well, I think that's a little harsh. I mean, there's a lot of work that has been done down in Swan Pond to open up the river.
For what?
To see it. I mean, the Army Corps, you know, I agree with.
They changed the topography.
I agree with what you're saying, that we should use the river, but you know, along with all to use it, you know, we need to be able to fund it. We need to be able to maintain it.
And I agree, Joe.
To build and I don't want to get into all this because it's too. But all of these, you know, these ideas of taking a path and you know, running from the scout cabin out to here and running over there and all this place, they're wonderful. And we build it and then we can't maintain it unless we can figure a way to fund it and somehow maintain it on a regular basis. It'll fall by these ideas fall by the wayside all the time, and we can pave our streets with reports and ideas and all these things that come up, but we got to find a way to fund them and maintain them, and that is probably the single most important thing we need to do, is because once we figure that out, then maybe we can attack some of these things. How are we going to pay for it?
This stretch that was cleared back here was done, to Mr. Pollock's point earlier, this town lives and breathes off volunteerism. That whole area was cleared.
But we can't even agree that was a good, bad, or a different idea.
Right. So if you can get volunteerism to do the upfront construction of it, and then rely on the village for the maintenance part of it, are we not trying to save some money by even looking at it?
But what department is at our point that they have the extra time to maintain all this? I mean,
excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this ad hoc group that's getting together is meeting with, is going to have recommendations, is working with staff people, recognizing that there's an upfront cost as well as an ongoing maintenance. And I'm not certain, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
You're 100%
really,
right.
We're not working it right now.
We've
but
gone
we
too far down the road.
We understand what, Ben very carefully gave us what our purpose is. We've been working on it. We'll have recommendations. And, you know, all these things are being considered by representatives from the commissions and by staff members. We're just not ready quite yet to come forward.
Okay. So before we move on to the more specific discussion about finance, are there any other items, either from the trustees or from any of our department heads who are here, any ideas that